Hello, friends. How's it going? Good to see you. Glad you're here. This is part three of my 10-year anniversary world tour. This is Temperu. So, what is Temperu? Temperu was a temporary world for the Onyx Hub community that was at the time playing on Aru, which we visited in the last video. Uh, the guy who hosted it was moving and had to take the world down for a month, but still wanted a place for the community to hang out. So I agreed to host a server on my Xbox for 4 or 5 weeks, so everyone could stay together on the same world. And for that month or so, I left my Xbox on 24/7, so anyone could be on it, on the world, at any time. I only had Minecraft running for the whole time. Um, and it was a contest, basically. In exchange for hosting it, I was, of course, not eligible to participate, so I just built for fun. And my reward for that was I got a wired Xbox controller so my Xbox wouldn't go to sleep and kick everyone off. Because I couldn't stay awake 24/7 just because my Xbox was on. So this is the world. And when we get over this way a little bit, it gets a bit choppy because, as most people know, it's very difficult for the game to render jungles. So for the majority of this video, our render distance is going to be much less than what it normally is. But I did want you to see at least the entire world, as it were, once. So I am in the middle of the map, standing on this giant thing, which I'll just tell you what it is, or maybe give you a hint. Holy TARDIS, Batman! It's bigger on the inside. Anyway, let's jump to it, shall we? The winners of the contest, I don't remember their names, but I do remember which builds won. First place got a $50 code to spend on the Xbox Live Store. Second place got $25, and third place got $10. And I'm just gonna go around the world in no particular order, and I'll tell you who won when we got there. I'm not gonna visit every single build, but I'll visit the more interesting things. And this one will probably be much shorter than the last one, because the next one's going to be quite long. I might even split it into 2 or 3 parts. But anyway, I gotta drop the render distance to make this video feasible. Otherwise, we'll be very, very choppy. And then we'll hop into the tour. So, yeah, here we go. All right. So, when you first arrived on Temperu, you would spawn right about here. I don't remember the exact block, but somewhere on this glowstone and obsidian checkerboard. And you'd be greeted with the rules. Let's take a look at them, shall we? And the rules are: no killing, no stealing, no griefing, no PvP, no modifying or destroying existing structures, replant if you harvest, currency is apples, farms exist for all types of mob drops, just follow the road, no private ownership of animals except 1 dog and 1 cat, have fun, be respectful, and of course, these rules go to 11. That's right. So why would we have rules like that? Well, at the time, there was a very limited mob cap on Legacy Console Edition, and if you collected too many animals, none would spawn over the rest of the world, and then people wouldn't be able to eat. If their preference was like beef or pork or whatever. So we allowed 1 dog and 1 cat. This was also a building server. It was a contest, so we wanted people to not be distracted with PvP. We wanted people to use their imaginations and be as creative as possible from scratch. Therefore, we said no modifying existing structures, and that included structures we built um, prior to the world launching. See, about 2 weeks before the world launch, myself and the other mods from Aru, Dreamer, and Engage, we went scouting for a new place to play because they were going to mod this world along with me hosting it and modding it. And this is the world we chose. It has diverse biomes, but large enough to, for them to feel meaningful. It was the only one we found that had as many biomes as almost existed in the game, including a mushroom biome. So this was a great one for that. We wanted also the stronghold to be very, very close to the spawn, and it is. It's under that Enderman statue, actually. And we wanted, some water as well. And this map had all of those things. We all spent about a weekend looking for one, and I think I stumbled on this one kind of early on, and this is the one we compared everything to, and didn't find anything better, and we were ended up being quite happy with it. So that was the idea behind the rules, to get around the mob cap, to make people, focus on building and make people avoid distractions from building. We wanted not just creative builds, but it was also an epic build. It had to be really, really big or really, really technically difficult. I think what I'll do is I'll take you around and show you the infrastructure we built, and then I will show you the builds for the contest, and then I will show you my build. I'll just go ahead and tell you, it's that aircraft carrier up there. And once again, as you can see, I built the Hatteras Lighthouse. I'll be honest with you, I build it a lot. It's fun. Anyway, you'd spawn down here, somewhere on this checkerboard. I think kind of close to here. And the first thing you might do is go up these stairs. At least we hoped you would, because that would get you food right away. We made sure there was carrots, wheat, and potatoes, because those are the easiest foods to get. We wanted people to not worry about living. We wanted people to just build. So we provided food for them right off the bat. Yeah, if they wanted to have a different type of food, that was fine. But the idea was just get the building right away. You only have a month to do it. To that end, we also built this giant sheep. And when I say we, I mean me, Dreamer, and Engage. Here's the sheep. And Engage built this one, and I remember going and working on something else and coming back, and he told me he had an idea, but I wasn't paying close attention. And he decided the sheep needed a Superman cape, so he put one on, and we agreed. He was right. The sheep did need a Superman cape, so we left it on. And I think it was the right decision. Inside the sheep, which would be accessed by going up in the legs, every single leg of the sheep was a stairwell, which took you up inside the sheep. And we had chests, I think, for excess wool. But there really never was any. And each pen had a different color sheep in it, all 16 colors. And we informed everyone up here as well, no killing sheep. If someone needed a lot of one color, they'd have to go through us to get the sheep dyed. That was to make sure all colors were available to anyone, but we could monitor activity and kind of ask around, and if everyone was okay with it, we would dye a few extra pens a different color to accommodate someone getting their build done. Because again, we wanted people to build stuff. I think we kept a stash of dies in the sheep's head. These were the communal cows. You had to breed a cow for every cow you killed. So people, for the most part, just ate baked potatoes. We also had pigs and chickens up here at one point as well, for that to be an option. Then just like a workstation and stuff over here in case people needed it. I don't have any idea where that came from, but I guess someone put some gold nuggets in there. The sheep head was accessed through the outside, and this is in the same era that the other world was in, so no one could fly except moderators. There were no elytras, no rockets, so we didn't have to worry about people coming up here and getting in, because they also were not allowed to pillar up to it, because that would be modifying an existing structure, and that was against the rules. But I think Engage originally lived up here, and yeah, this is where he kept first his own supplies, and then we kind of made it a moderator supply area. And I think we also had a bunch of excess wool in here too, just in case. Oh dear. You know, we needed to restock some, like a chest blew up or something, because we wanted to facilitate, as I said, building. I'm not worried about the creepers because I'm in creative mode, so they're not going to go after me. Another thing we built was this giant bookshelf, which you probably guessed it, houses the enchantment table, or enchanting table, whichever it's called. Also, lots of torch spam, because back then, this is still pretty well known, but the further we get away, people might not be as aware. These days you can put down one torch and it's good 16 blocks in every direction. So you only need a torch every 32 blocks. Back then you needed a torch every 8 blocks, or you would get mobs spawning, and sometimes just to be safe you would spam it like this, because you just really, 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 really did not want mobs around, especially creepers. Anyway, this was the enchantment area. The Enderman is where Dreamer lived. I think his house is still in there. Yep. This was Dreamer's residence. And underneath the Enderman was the end. You would just go down these stairs, because we didn't have water elevators back then. There was no soul sand. This is 10 years ago, and soul sand didn't come out until 4 years ago, which it's really weird to say that. It seems like the Nether update wasn't that long ago, but it was 4 years ago. But anyway, you would come down here and we would tell people, follow the glowstone. That'll take you to the end. And just like the other end, it's not rendering. And I'm not going to go in there. I don't remember the end. Back then, there were no end islands, so I don't really know like what would even be in there. If the dragon's still alive, I just don't remember. I don't remember if anyone fought the dragon or not. The next thing we built was, or not the next thing, but another thing. I don't remember what order we built it in for the most part, but Party Pig Memorial Post Office. I think we found another pig, called it the Party Pig, and then it died, and we named it after this. But, you know, it's just like any post office. We don't need to really examine it very closely. Down here, we had some custom villagers. Just like in the old world, they're gone now, but we had them all selling, you know, various types of things. Again, so people could focus on building and not farming. Um, and there was a program, a couple of programs you could use in conjunction with one another, um, that uh, would allow you to do things like control what villagers sold and give them special uh, currency other than emeralds. On this world, we again chose apples, and uh, this was sort of our. I think we called it the orchard bank. You just come here and chop trees, and people often would leave the wood behind or the saplings behind, and then they just take the apples and go spend them on the villagers. So yeah, we built the mall as well, is what we called it. Engage also briefly lived in the statue of Master Chief. Ultimately, though, we all ended up living on the aircraft carrier, and that was my home the entire time, even while it was under construction. Of course, we have the Onyx flag, Onyx hub flag. The gas we built above the Nether portal. Unfortunately, because the Nether was 1 block for every 3 ratio, and now it's 1 for every 8. Wherever the Nether portals used to take you, it does not take you there anymore. So we're not going to go in there, and there wasn't really anything to see in there anyway. But also, bat signal, bat wing. That is a stealth bomber and a B-52. Those are all basically supposed to be related to the aircraft carrier, and then tying into this with them being related to both. These are just people's houses, villagers, or rather villages, I mean. Because after the contest was over, we'd come play on this world on the rare occasion the regular world went down or was down for maintenance. We'd come back over here and hang out. But this actually was our sort of prison timeout room. I called it, of course, Asylum of the Daleks. If someone misbehaved but didn't have infraction that warranted being kicked or banned, we'd give them a timeout. Or we would it's a thing I invented called teledropping, where you'd fly really high in the sky and then teleport the offending player to you, where unlike you, they could not fly and they'd fall to their deaths. That would, get their attention, and then they'd listen to you. If that wasn't enough, then we would do a second thing, which is we would come in here. Now, someone actually became a substitute moderator, and they made up here their home. Oh, I left some diamonds behind. But basically, yes, this is the Asylum of the Daleks. And to get in, you'd have to go through the lava. Now, of course, we were moderators, so we could survive in lava. But yeah, we'd come down here, and there'd be, if you're here, you broke too many rules. Explain why to a mod very quickly, or you will be kicked. Mining in any direction will kill you by lava or by fall. If you went up, lava would get you. If you went down, lava would get you. And if you somehow made it past the lava, we dug a hole under this thing that went down to bedrock. So even if you could get out, you were going to die. So this was pretty effective in keeping people from breaking the rules more than twice. And if they did it the third time, we just would ban them. It only happened 2 or 3 times, as I recall. Most people were pretty cool, pretty chill, pretty well behaved. But if not, we had this Asylum of the Daleks for them. And I think I'm going to leave it now. So yeah, here is the Dalek. I just built this like freehand. I also had a very limited block palette, but I think it turned out pretty okay. The only thing I didn't like was that it was partway in a snow biome, and I either didn't know that you could lay string down to stop that, or that had not been implemented yet. I don't remember which. Um, Either that, or I thought the string was not. I thought it looked worse than the snow. But yeah, he's got his like suction cup thingy, and then his laser thing, and then his, I guess, eyeball thing. And if you did mine your way out, manage to survive all the lava, this is the hole that you would fall into, which in itself was also filled with lava at the bottom. Pretty effective deterrent. Look at all those creepers back there. My. Anyway, maybe I should go the route that a player back then would have gone if they were to take the mob grinder tour, which is what we called mob farms back then, was mob grinders. And some people still use that term, though. It seems to me farm is much more ubiquitous these days. I think at the time maybe it was grinder because you didn't farm them so much as you did grind them, whereas now you can AFK most things. Back then you couldn't because, no hoppers, guys. Anyway, we'll take the mob grinder tour now. And we'll take a nice little look at that beautiful, beautiful ship. But yeah, you'd follow this road. And you'd have a great view of the ship here. Well, in theory, render distance wouldn't show you the ship from over here. You might see like the middle two propellers ish standing here, and that's it. Yeah, you could only see 4 chunks away, so not a heck of a view like now. Which I unfortunately had to drop to 20 chunks, so we're normally at 48. So can't see as far as normal, but it still looks pretty good. So we will continue on the mob grinder tour. So another thing I did one day when the contest was over and nobody was interested in playing in this world at the time because the other world was up, I went through for some reason and I we'll call it, I mowed the grass. There's not a single block of grass on the original part of the map anywhere. And then I decided to put down torches around every single road everywhere. Which seems silly, but I did it. Anyway, let's continue. That will take you to the spider, zombie, and spider skeleton farm, I guess. I guess that we didn't notice we had spider on there twice. And this took you to the blaze farm, which is underneath the, or rather over the nether portal. I doubt it takes you to the blaze farm anymore, though, and we're not gonna go looking for it. We're here to see the
epic builds.
Maybe I can put like a megaphone type effect over my voice there in post. We'll see. Anyway, I don't want to go to the blaze spawner actually, or do I? Yeah, we'll go take a closer look. And on the way, I can show you a couple other builds. This ship here, I remember this is another example of someone having rented the game for a weekend. Yeah, Blockbuster was still a thing then. And then coming on and never playing again after the weekend. And this boat was one of those people. Cool boat though. Especially for the time. This was really, really good for the time. Looks like maybe the rudder got cut off. I'm pretty sure that used to be a rudder or something. Um, Here's the blaze. I think you could go inside of him too. Yep. Well, that just won't do. Here it was a village. We just walled them off to protect the villagers, even though we had really OP villagers way over there. Ultimately, the villagers all died anyway. Here's a diamond block. The moderators, we would randomly hide them in places that we thought people might accidentally stumble upon, just to help them, you know, without directly helping them. Just it made the server contest a little bit more interesting by adding an element of luck, I guess. This right here was one of the entries. It was called the Pidact, which is, if you remember the Didact in Halo, that there was a much smaller replica of made out of obsidian on the other world, and that version also had lava. The guy who made this, his gamer tag was Pidact, so he made a giant pie and then a didact. And he just eyeballed this. He didn't use like any sort of thing, so you can see it's not really a perfect sphere, but for eyeballing it while you're standing on it, it's definitely not too bad. He finished this. I remember the contest ended at a specific time, like midnight on whatever day, and he finished it just as the clock was hitting like 11:59 and a half. Did not even place though. So, who did remains to be seen, but we'll get there. So yeah, the Pidact. This was a zombie farm that I built after the contest was over, when I found a zombie spawner over here. It doesn't work anymore because of it used a water mechanic that no longer functions, and I guess I could fix it, but I'm not gonna. And that's one chorus line of zombies dancing until they rot. Yeah. Okay, so let's get back to things. If you had walked here instead of flown, then you could walk back this way. And you would see the skeleton farm. Yes, we also put food around randomly, so people, if they ran out on the way from point A to point B, they wouldn't starve. You know, nothing fancy, just hit a button and you get a couple pieces of food, and you know, not even the best food. That was the idea, just keep people alive. So this is the marker for the skeleton grinder. I kind of looked at a few different skeleton statue pictures I'd seen on Google Images, and I kind of combined like two of them, and I made this. I've never felt like I've made a good skeleton, but I don't hate it. I think it's hard to do them accurately. The rib cage is just never feels right to me, but he's our skeleton and we like him. And over here, this way, would take you to the zombie spawner. And here is the spider spawner. It's actually a cave spider spawner. Yes, here is our spider spawner. You would go down that nether brick tunnel and it would take you down to the spider spawner. I don't know why there's a bunch of wood here. I don't know who would have done that. And I'm pretty sure if I ever saw it, I would have cleaned it up myself. That's not part of the spider. So this zombie farm, I remember that was an annoying thing that happened. Uh, so someone was at the zombie grinder and somehow they fell into it. They weren't really the best player. I remember they were one of the uh, kids that hung out on the server that I didn't really associate with. And yeah, instead of just taking one for the team and dying, they broke the spawner. And they were banned from all Onyx Hub servers forever. Because I believe the actual spawner had been right up this way somewhere. We may have walled it off. And then we had to frantically search for another zombie spawner. But we already had the statue marking the entrance, so we just dug a tunnel to it. And it was way less efficient because we just wanted to get it done and have it there. And fortunately, zombie drops were not something people really needed much of, if at all. But yeah, they'd come out of their spawner and the water would push them down here, and you were just supposed to stand here and the water would push them down and you'd just kill them, and their you know, drops, what that you didn't want you could put here, and if what you did you could take. So that's the zombie spawner. So wherever you are, Terra Nova, you caused a lot of trouble for us, and not cool, man. Now, I'm not doxing anyone because that's not their actual gamer tag. That's just what they went by. It was some version of that with numbers and who knows what they were. Don't go bothering him. Just, it was 10 years ago, man. You have to let it go. All right? So the next grinder would have been the Farm Dreamer and I made. We didn't have very much pink wool, so first we made this statue as a joke, and then we thought it was funny, so we left it. And then we made the real statue to note, sort of demark that this is where you could get gold and piglin drops. The way it worked is the piglins would come and spawn in the portals, and then they'd try to walk across the signs, I mean the trap doors, and then they'd fall, and they'd fall through down here, and they'd just get pushed right out to here, but then they couldn't get out, and they'd be stuck, and you could just kill them right here with your sword. And then their drops would be pushed to right here, and of course they'd drop rotten flesh and gold nuggets. So that was another resource for the players. I can take you to our iron farm. We made that, but it's the old school legacy console edition iron farm that's way different than the iron farms of today, because iron golems mechanics were different back then. There is yet another version. I told you I build some things a lot. There's another version of the Berlin media sphere. This time I put a glass halo on it. We'll take a closer look later. That was not part of the contest. That was just a thing I did for fun on my own. This castle was also not part of the contest. That was built after it was over. That was built by Wolfie's mom. And I am going the wrong way for the iron golem thing. It's on the other side over here. this is a pretty cool build. We'll come back and visit it later on. But here's our iron farm. And, we did not have the blocks we have now. Back then, I keep harping on that, but it's true, we didn't. And this right here is actually quite. No, I thought I mistook this for something else. Yeah, this was in the game back then. That was quite an anachronism, is what I was going to say. But yeah, so we didn't have quite the right colors to build an iron golem, so we used the closest we had. And back then they held poppies, not roses, and this is the poppy version. We followed a tutorial for the golem, but this I remember we just kind of did freehand. I think I looked at a JPEG of a poppy on the wiki and kind of went off of that. But anyway, the way that iron golem farms or iron farms worked back then was this is the way iron was farmed on Xbox 360 10 years ago. Very, very different than how we farm it today in Bedrock and Java. I think I like the new way better. The footprint's certainly much smaller and the efficiency is much better as well. We have 2 more farms we can visit, and then we'll switch over to a more build-oriented side. However, this is, since we're by it and it wasn't part of the contest, I'll just point it out. This is the Coliseum. It was our PvP arena. It only got used a handful of times, but it was meant to be one where you could play with like bows or with swords. And then, though you couldn't at the time because it didn't exist, you could have played with elytras on and still stayed in bounds if you wanted to, if elytras existed, but they didn't. But anyway, that's our Coliseum. So we will now continue to the rest of the grinders. There's only a couple left. Up this way, we have our slime farm. You'd come up around this way, and you'd go to the slime farm, which was up this way, up past this neat bridge. And you'd come in here, and then, let's see, actually, you'd go down this way, which would take you into this little jungle area with a sign pointing this way to the slime farm. And of course, you wouldn't drop down like this because you'd die, but I'm in creative, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, this is a slime farm from Legacy Console Edition. I said Bedrock earlier, but I meant Legacy Console Edition. You could make it multi-tiered. Ours was 2-tiered. And the way it works is really, really simple. You would just stand kind of on this end down here, you know, and the room is big enough to where slime would spawn on the other side, because mobs can only spawn, I forget the exact number, but it's something like 26 blocks away from you. It's something like 26 blocks away up to 128 blocks away. So you had to make a room big enough for them to spawn in, and it had to be in a slime chunk, which this area was, we were able to determine. And so once they spawned, you'd just run down here, and then they'd hop towards you, and you'd kill them all. And then you'd just pick up your drops and hope that while you're down on this side, more spawn down there and you didn't have to wait, so that you could just run down that way. So yeah, you would just do that, and then the idea was you could do it up there, and hopefully while they're spawning on that end when you're down here, they're hopefully doing it on both levels, which would allow you to double your chances of killing them. And then by the time you kill the ones on one level, hopefully there's more spawned on the top level. And yeah, that's how we did it back then. There were no hoppers. There was no way to automate it. Then over here, we had another skeleton spawner, so I just built another skeleton, but this time I decided he should have a bow. I built the exact same skeleton, I just added a bow to him. It's not a different skeleton. The skeleton. Up there we have Snoopy. I don't know what possessed me to build this. I just sort of freehanded it, and I liked it, and I kept it. I decided Snoopy should be flying on his doghouse up out here. So here he is. No rhyme or reason. And I think I actually used this for storage when I was building the Coliseum. This building is really just nothing. It's water and lava fall. I have no idea what the chests are for. Now, I did build this. I will admit, I was a bit drunk when I built this. I do remember that. And I think I just wanted to do something weird. So this is what I did. However, a build I didn't do while I was drunk would be, once again, the Berlin Media Tower behind me there. We visited all the other ones I built. Why not visit this one too? Shall we? We shall. This one I decided to enhance with sort of a ring halo thing that is not actually on the real one, of course. But I had fun with it. It's a little different. Certainly not realistic, but that's okay. Here's the Berlin flag beside it. And just like the other one, I put in the Berlin flag on the floor, as well as this time also outside of it. And of course, this is before lanterns and most other light sources, including sea lanterns. So basically, our options were torches and fire at the time. And I guess end rods, but those were harder to come by, especially since we didn't go to the end on this world, I don't think. But this one actually made it so you could go out inside the ring and run around, which is more impressive now because render distance is much farther than it was back then. Down here, some of you may recognize, I did not and had to be told by the builder what this was, but this is the Krusty Krab from SpongeBob SquarePants. Exterior only, as you can see. Here we have just sort of the beginnings of a desert castle, not ever quite finished, but Iron Golem's still there guarding the place after all these years. I built this elephant, but when I expanded the world, it cut off half of it because it was on the edge of the world, but it was symmetrical. So if you just look at this side, you'll understand that the other side looked like that. I built an elephant because I was bored one day and I asked a friend, hey, what should I build? And they said, build an elephant. So I built an elephant. This was a zombie spawner that I wanted to build that didn't have any redstone. Zombies would be transported up to there and then be drawn to the player who would stand right here, and then they would just run into the cactus and die. Not very efficient, but it was just a challenge I gave myself, and I succeeded, so yay. Oops. I do not remember this desert temple. Presumably it was raided. Yes, it was. Ooh, I put a diamond block in there for someone to find. Oh, and all of them, it looks like. And no one ever came back here to check it again. If only they had. They could have had 9 diamonds. This up here is a castle that was started and not finished. Lots of that going around on this server. Here's Mama Wolf's build. I think it's lovely. I hung up this sign just to be funny, and then I hid a body in the basement with item frames and bones. It's not there anymore, but everyone got a kick out of that. Nice little interiors. For today's builds, this would be considered kind of basic and not really what people are doing now. But at the time, this was exceptionally good because, as I keep saying, we didn't have a lot of blocks to work with. But yeah, beautiful build. So there is one more thing to show you that's not part of the contest, just a little thing I did. If you're a fan of Lost, you might appreciate this build. Just a plane crashed into the jungle. Oceanic 815. I used to have the tail section in the water down there, but when I expanded the world, it overwrote the edges, which is what the spot was. So we lost the tail section, but we still have the body and the nose of the plane. Don't worry, no smoke monster. And you'll have to go back to regular Aru to find out what lies in the shadow of the statue. It's Pathos, my city. My city lies in the shadow of the statue. Or rather, my city's fairly big. I guess the statue lies in the shadow of the city. How about that? Pretty cool. All right. Anyway. Engine just burning away. Overgrown with vines, like it's been here a little bit, but somehow it's still burning because we don't have to worry about things like linear time in Minecraft builds. Yeah, nothing fancy, just a fun little Lost reference for those of you who are into that sort of thing. One more Lost thing before we go. What did one snowman say to the other? It was either, "Are you him?" or "I smell carrots." So what we'll do now is kind of go through the contest builds. This one behind me came in 3rd place. This is blatant sucking up by spelling onyx out of different materials. I like that each one is sort of representative of a different biome. I just didn't think this met the criteria for
Epic builds.
I just think for the criteria of the build, it did not deserve 3rd place, but it got 3rd place, and you know, good for them. It's not a bad build. I just don't think it meets the criteria that were laid out. I was not a judge. I was asked to be a judge, but declined because as I moderated the server over the course of the contest, people asked me for advice, and I gave it to them, not knowing I was going to be asked to be a judge. And as such, I felt that it would be unethical for me to sit in as a judge, being that I did really give out advice when people asked me what I thought about various things. So yeah. We already covered the Pied Act, so I won't go back to that. The next build to look at would be the X Tower. It was given an honorable mention, I believe. Also, in my opinion, blatant sucking up because it's a recreation of a build on a historic Onyx Hub server. Then we will go over here to Danny Loop's castle. You may remember Danny Loop from the odd fountain things on Aru. Well, he built this, I guess not castle so much as church. But yes, it was called the Nether Cathedral. And it is a nice build. I do think it deserved the second place that it got. By today's standards, it's not much, but back then, as I have said multiple times, our build palette was really limited, and he did some cool things with it. So well done, Danny Loop, wherever you are. The spiritual stones. Very nice, Danny Loop. So here we have the Valley of the Shadow of Death, population 1. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. And it's just a small collection of igloos, really. That's all. Then Igloo Village and Shrine of Snow. He expects the $50 grand prize, he says. And this, he says, is the room he will cry in if he loses, and that is his pool of tears. Obviously all a joke, because he knew he wasn't going to win, and he didn't have much time, and he threw this together in a few minutes. Good sense of humor. I don't remember who built it. I just feel like his name was John or Johnny or something like that. Wouldn't it be something, though, if he hid something here and no one ever knew about it? With Recam, we can find out if he did right now. Yep, and he totally didn't. All right, then. Well, mystery solved. Very good. So next we have the Xbox controller. I don't know what that is. I checked it out earlier. I'm not going to show it to you because there's nothing to see there. No idea. No idea at all. But the Xbox controller, yeah, it's an Xbox controller, but pixel art, yeah, not really an epic build. You know, it's nice. But I do remember he lived in this treehouse while he was building the Xbox controller, and I thought actually the treehouse was a better build than his entry into the contest. I am from North Carolina, so I built the North Carolina flag here. Over here we have Hatteras Lighthouse. I built it just for fun. Built the North Carolina flag, which is where Hatteras is located. And then the first ever successful airplane flight was also at the beach in North Carolina, so I built the Wright Brothers flyer here as well to go with the North Carolina motif. Down here, we also have the Creeper of Liberty. It had absolutely no function whatsoever, except that I felt like building it. Built the British flag, obviously, to go with the police box and the Dalek. The Australian guys lived here, so I built them an Australian flag because they wanted me to. Then I built the Berlin flag to go with the media sphere. I knew someone who was from Cyprus, so I built the Cyprus flag for them. This here is just an optical illusion. It's supposed to look like a cube from really far away, but when you get close, it's actually just these shapes here. Yep. But the farther away you get from it, the more it looks like a 3D cube. And here we have the first place build, a somewhat working computer with a glass of water, a stapler, a mouse, a keyboard, and a potted plant. Let's check it out. It definitely deserved to win, and it did. My one contribution is I suggested the potted plant, and he planted that tree, and that tree grew there naturally, and he thought to chop it down, and I said, you're not going to get a better natural tree than that, and he agreed and left it there. First try, got that tree. So, this is a Dell desktop PC, now with dial-up speeds. Please do not stand on the plates on the mouse, just click. Because believe it or not, this computer actually does things. It's got the keyboard layout that many people would be familiar with. This old school layout with the different keys up there. I could have told you what they were a long time ago. Now I don't remember anymore. But the way it worked is if you left clicked, it would rotate up on the screen by one block, and if you right clicked, it would go automatically. This no longer works, though occasionally it will move one block or so if you stand on it. I will attempt to get it to do so now. Yep, it went one block. And you can see the lights light up as well. So that's supposed to be automatic mode. I don't think the redstone mechanics work on that any longer. And then stepping on it again would turn it off. But as I said, it doesn't work anymore. At some point, it got out of alignment. The black lines should be all the way straight down. And dude, you're getting a Dell. I'll show you the interior mechanics. There were 4 screens that rotated through, being the 3 different factions from the regular Aru server, and then the Onyx Hub logo. And they were in here. And they're difficult to make out now, but if you remember them from the other server, Aru, you'll see, you can kind of make them out if you're familiar with them. If not, you'll just have to take my word for it. But the redstone went underneath the quartz here, which is meant to be cables. And then, of course, they're not actually functioning cables. They just hide the redstone and then plug in the back the way you would expect cables to. He did a really good job. He did a lot of attention to detail. Back then, you know, we mostly did have flat screen monitors, but some places still had the old cube shaped monitors, and they all hadn't been replaced yet. So this wasn't unusual to see back then either. And all in all, as I said, this was the best build as far as the epic builds go, and it definitely deserved to win, and it did. So whoever you are who built this back then, I do not remember your name, but great job. And finally, we have my own epic build, which, because of my status as moderator, made me ineligible to participate in the contest. Was not considered. But I decided everyone else is doing an epic build. I think I'll build one too. This is a 1-to-1 scale replica of the aircraft carrier, the USS Enterprise. Though we named ours the USS Moderator because myself and the other 2 moderators ultimately ended up living there. I took inspiration from the Avengers floating aircraft carrier, as well as you can see from the propellers underneath it, the Bowser's ship in Super Mario 3 from Super Nintendo. It does have an interior as well as an exterior, and we will be wrapping up the video by exploring the USS Moderator. One of the things we built for the USS Moderator was a viewing platform, because people who were working on their own epic builds were still curious about what I was doing. But unlike me and the other moderators, they couldn't fly. So myself and Dreamer and Engage built these viewing platforms so that they could get a better look at what we were doing up there. And we placed them at several levels so they could see the different aspects of it, the bottom, the side. You know, here's able to see it from this angle. At the time, you actually could not see the entire ship at once because the render distance was not far enough. So you could see that side to about where the screen ends, or you could see that side to about where the screen ends. Back then, the ship was actually longer than render distance. We had this view up here where you could see the deck, as it were. And myself and Engage and Dreamer, we put our initials on the control tower, our gamer tag initials. Mine at the time being AOD. And we built lots of planes, and we built an interior. And then finally the final viewing platform was so you could really get a view of the top of the deck. So I'll just let you take that in for a moment. And maybe I should do that on each level. So what I think I'll do is I'll fly around the exterior, and then we'll show you the deck, and then work our way through the interior, which has several decks inside. So that door right there actually is an entrance to my cabin. The captain's cabin, as it were, though I was not known as Captain Incredulous yet. And I did not design this. I used a tutorial created by someone whose name I believe was Jag Thunder. And he builds a lot of ships like this at scale and does a great job. And his tutorial was super easy to follow. It was really, really good. And I could not have done it without him. Here is the back. And we built a bunch of planes. They're anachronistic. They don't belong on here. One of them was, you know, some of them are even fictional, like the Batwing, and you're not going to have a U-2 and a stealth bomber and a chopper from the Vietnam and Korea era, and then we got an Osprey and Blackbird. That plane I just free-handed. I don't even know what it is. Just made it up. Same with that one. I think that's from Halo. Here's a Harrier jet. Over here is another Halo vehicle, I believe. And then the Wright brothers flyer, the first ever plane. Yeah, so, you know, Blue Angels, planes down there. And then over here, this yellow and red plane is actually from a cartoon from the early 90s called Tailspin that was sort of based off the characters from the Jungle Book that I enjoyed very much as a kid. Um, so yeah, these planes are, some of them fit, some of them don't, but it just, we had fun building them. And you have the deck. Um, I don't remember the number of the actual Enterprise, but of course we decided to be cheeky and put 69 on ours. And then have the Wright Brothers Flyer taking off from it. I've actually built the Wright Brothers Flyer again, and I got better at it. It will be in one of my next videos on a different world. But we'll check out the tower now. I am a big fan of MASH, which is why. Well, we have a skeleton trap here on the aircraft carrier. I can't just leave them here. These things are supposed to be lifts that move planes from above and below deck. Obviously, the planes would have to be smaller than the door, but we didn't much care about that while we were building these fun planes. But let's check out the interior. Oh, and I built the Red Baron plane as well. At the time, I was living in Germany, so that made sense. I may have lit that up. Yep, it just needed a block update. So we'll go around to the back here. That's, I guess, the best entrance for the next level. Let me put some fun things in here. We tried to light it up in a way that didn't torch spam, but also prevented mobs. And this is what we came up with. It made sense to us at the time anyway. Back over here, we built a little forklift. And then there's, you know, ways to get up around into the different levels and things. To look around. It's things I want to develop. I wanted to develop more, but never got around to. And also, we built it out of wool because at the time concrete didn't exist. The wool was the most accurately colored block we could do at the time. We put a couple Abrams tanks in here, a Humvee. We decided that a UFO should be in here, and I think this is a weird Java conversion thing because we actually managed to get a mob head with a charged creeper and put it in there. And now it's that instead. I don't know quite how that happened. I think this is supposed to be a Hornet and a Mustang. I think that's what those two are supposed to be. Then over here we had the engine room, which we based off of the Enterprise 1701D rather than the aircraft carrier engine. And we made it actually work. You can just flip these, and by work I mean we gave it movement. So it's supposed to look somewhat like a dual version of the engine in the Enterprise from Star Trek The Next Generation. And then we connected them with lava tubes here that's supposed to be the dilithium antimatter conversion thing. you know, it's not functional, of course, but we had fun coming up with this and building it. But we put a switch on it because, of course, back then, I mean, again, this is Xbox 360 Minecraft from 10 years ago. So we had to do everything we could to reduce lag. So that's this deck. The next deck would be this one here, and it starts off with sort of the control hub. I didn't show you the inside of the tower, but we'll go back and take a look at that before it's over. But this is sort of be like a secondary thing to that. We had paintings up here that were supposed to be like, you know, maps or whatever, television screens or something. And these are all just command type stations is what they were meant to be. We used obsidian because obsidian was a really tough block, and we thought, you know, that gave it an air of importance. And then we have the mess hall, and we actually had food in these. These were supposed to be soda dispensers. And I said food. Oh, we had potions in these, and you know, you just hit them and you get your potion. And yeah, it was just supposed to be like basically soda vending machines. And over here we had villagers. There were custom villagers that sold different types of food. Then they were in these booths. And this was supposed to be the mess hall where you got your food and your drinks. And it was, you know, really your food and your potions. Then we have the dormitory, which is just a bunch of beds. They actually all used to be, we made them green because, you know, military. Even though this is more Navy than Army, we made them all green. It seemed right. Then we have the brig. You know, we didn't actually use it. It was just, you know, we were filling up space, and this is what we came up with. Then we have quarters of one of the mods. He built his based off of Scarface. There used to be a bunch of snow up here that was supposed to be something else. And here are his little friends. And yeah, this is where Dreamer lived. And then we had Engage. And he never actually finished his quarters. I don't know quite what he was going for here, but this is what he built. He's got an American flag, I guess is what he was going for. And then the captain's quarters were just past the war room. This is the war room. This was our end portal. Normally it would have the space thing here, and that was supposed to be like our map. And this was just like, you know, not functional, just meant to be a room that looked cool. Cool carpet pattern, I guess, and we would, you know, sit around here and plan our wars. I think there was a painting here, and this was meant to like be buttons, and it was supposed to be like a screen where you could hit the buttons and do things to change the screen. Obviously it wouldn't change, it was just meant to look that way. And then we have the captain's quarters. I really just used it for storage. And you can see, since I could fly, I gave myself this exit here, which I'd pointed out earlier. And here's just another deck. You know, that you could get at from in here. Never really utilized it, but it was cool to have. If we'd stayed on the world longer, it probably would have been developed more. Oh wow, that's a lot of blaze rods. I think I was using them as fuel. Believe it or not, blaze rods are actually the most efficient fuel in the game. Here's the enchantment room. You know, self-explanatory. And then we had the showers, which were right over here. I mean, non-functional or anything, but you know, just taking up space really. And then we have the gym. This was supposed to be a punching bag. Let's see if it still works. It does. So when you press the button, it's supposed to be like you punching it and the thing coming out. Yeah, there you go. And these were supposed to be treadmills. They don't actually do anything. These are supposed to be those weighted things. You hold them and you pull them and push them in different directions. This was our water cooler, weight bench. This was our boxing ring. We got a blue and a red corner. Obviously, we have things we can't talk about here. And this is where the dorms ended. This is the holodeck because, you know, it is the Enterprise. But here's where, you know, Lieutenant Barclay would hang out a lot. We had a shooting range. And it was supposed to be like target practice before there were target blocks. And, you know, there were different ranges you could practice from. And there used to be bows and arrows in these chests. I doubt they made the conversion. Oh, the bows did. And some arrows did. Okay. But they got converted into uncraftable tipped arrows with the Java conversion. That's fine. Here we had the chapel. And in our chapel, it was presumed... I always had this mythos that in Minecraft, the dominant religion would be worship of the Enderman. And so that's what I based it on. There were item frames up here. We lost a couple, but there was an end stone, an eye of ender, and probably an ender pearl up here. Then we have, I think, storage, and we this room wasn't really anything. And then in the next room, we hit a TARDIS. Item frames got janky in the conversion to Java. I guess we managed to get some skulls from some charged creepers. I don't really remember that, but clearly we did. Just a hallway. I think our medical facility was over here. Yeah, our infirmary. Did I miss? Oh, that's the chapel. So this was supposed to be like a surgical room, and we used redstone, I think, to insinuate that a surgery had recently happened. With this is supposed to be blood, of course. And surgical implements are what we use as potions. You hear sheep. That's actually our maintenance room. The idea was, since the ship was made out of wool, these sheep were all dyed the colors of the ship, and we would shear them to repair the ship. But with the Java conversion, all the wool turned to white and all the sheep turned back to white, but they used to be gray and red and yellow. So that's the idea there. This was the Officers and Enlistedmen's Club, which was a reference to MASH. Just a bar, nothing special. And apparently we put the dragon egg here, so maybe we did go to the end. I don't remember doing it, but that's where the dragon egg is. Mama Wolf was gonna move in here, but I guess never did. And then I think these two rooms we never got around to finishing. So that is that deck. So we will now head on down to the next deck. I had intended to make a way down on this level on both ends, but I never did. So now down to the next level. We'll take the stairs. And this was supposed to be some kind of control panel for this, even though it's not actually functional. So this room, we never figured out what to do with. We thought about segmenting it into smaller rooms or making a big thing in here. We never did it. This block here was not us. An Enderman had to have moved that because we wouldn't have done that. This is supposed to be a recreation of some sort of garden in Halo. I don't know anything about Halo, but if you do, then you will likely know what this is. Some kind of garden inside of a spaceship. I don't know. And I don't know what happened to the blocks that were here that were supposed to like control the water. We'll just do our pick block thing. There must have been ice that melted or something when the mechanics changed. Then we had top secret no admittance, which of course would compel you to walk back here, and this is where we put our space shuttle, which clearly had been abducted by the aircraft carrier. And that's it for the interior. I think this is where the Officers and Enlisted Men's Club was. Again, named after the club in MASH. Then we'll give you a flyby of under the ship as well, so you can get a better look at the propellers. Which myself and Dreamer and Engage, I think, spent a good half a day designing the propeller and then recreating it. I think we did a pretty good job. We wanted it to not be too big, not be too small, and look, you know, propellery. So this is what we came up with. And then we recreated it, and we went back and forth on how it should be mounted up here and how that should look. And I would do it differently now in this section, but I don't think I can improve upon the propellers. I think we did a good job there. Maybe the lighting, I would change how I did that, but back then all we had was torches and glowstone. And then of course we have, you know, the propellers that actually would exist on a ship. I made them out of glowstone instead of wool just to make it better lit up, but there you have it. There is the USS Moderator. And the one thing we didn't look at was the inside of the tower, so we'll, I guess, wrap it up by going in there. We each took a floor, myself, Dreamer, and Engage, and designed it. I think there were 4 floors, so we just, you know, only 3 of them got done. This was supposed to be sort of a command center. There were paintings on these blocks that were meant to, you know, resemble screens. Then up here, I don't guess this one ever got done. I don't remember what the idea up here was. Clearly there wasn't much of one. Then the next floor, maybe there were 5 floors, or there were 4 or 5. Nothing really got done on here. Just we got some storage to when we got around to designing it, but never did it. Then another lookout, you know, over here. And one more floor, I think. Or no, 2 more. All right. We did less of the interior than I remembered, but yeah, loose lips sink ships. Don't forget that. And this is supposed to be sort of where you steer it. This is like the wheel we did with levers, and this is supposed to be like a radar thing, and you know, obviously a compass, and just, you know, silly things like that. make it look interesting. And this is of course the top level. And then you could go up here if you wanted to the roof and look at the antenna and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the aircraft carrier, the USS Moderator, one of the biggest things I've ever built. So that's it. That's pretty much it for Temp Aru. I hope you enjoyed it. My next video is going to be probably a short one, just about my very short time on the Playhouse server. And then we'll jump into a world I was on for many years called Dig You. I'm not sure yet if I'll make one video for that. I could make 3 or 4 and still have some fairly long videos, so we'll see how that goes. But until then, you know, I thank you for watching. You've been fantastic, and I've been Captain Incredulous. I'll catch you later.